Hello, everyone, and welcome to issue number 94 of Anti-Life Reviews. I am the Tona Makaya, Master of Minds and of Men. We are at the very end, the big-time story arc for Uncanny X-Force, Volume 1. Today we look at issues 25 through 35, capping off the series which ran from May to December 2012 and was published by Marvel Comics. Let's not beat around the bush, hit that subscribe button, let's get to the story. All right, the writers and artists on this week. Writer is, of course, Rick Remender, who's been the writer on this entire series. This comic may not have had a consistent artist, but it did have a consistent writer, and consistent it has been with Rick, who has worked on The Punisher, The Atom, Booster Gold, among his big runs on the Avengers and Captain America. He gets busy with Image Comics and creator-owned work, which I always support. Artists on this, of course, this is Uncanny X-Force, so we have a litany of artists. Issue 25 is Mike McKone, had long run on Exiles, Amazing Spider-Man, and Teen Titans. Beyond that, lots of small runs on things or fill-ins. Issues 26, 27, and 31 through 35. Phil Noto, I didn't talk about him much last week as he only did one issue, though he was the best part of the art last week. But an artist who has worked on such things as Daredevil, lots of Star Wars, Grendel, and even The Simpsons. 28 and 29, we have Julian Totino Tedesco. I really like his art. He worked on a lot of Marvel Origins books. Daredevil and Kate Bishop's Hawkeye. Has this painted style that I kind of dig. And issue 30, David Williams has had a long career working on everything from Star Trek to Supreme. Not much else to say. Alright, issues 25 to 35, the final execution. So the team is kind of in disarray. It's Wolverine, Deadpool, Age of Apocalypse Nightcrawler, and very, very loosely Phantom X and Psylocke. We last left the team not knowing the forces of evil are closing in around them. We see Evan, the Apocalypse Child, is acclimating at the Jean Grey School for Gifted Youngers, but he's being watched by Sabretooth. Phantom X and Betsy's affair ends poorly, and they both leave the team, with Betsy attempting to high-road Wolverine morally. She then visits Warren, but he's as blank as a fart. Deadpool has infiltrated an organization that sells prefab custom assassins, and he finds some of those created assassins were clones, DNA from Omega Red, and are after him in X-Force. Wolverine and Nightcrawler run to save Wade, but are taken out quickly by the aptly named Omega Clan. The bad guy team begins to form before us. The skinless man who has returned from Otherworld and has taken his wife's face, as he is wont to do. Sabretooth is ready to kidnap Evan. Shadow King has begun taunting and humiliating Betsy about Warren and various other things, reducing her to a bubbling mess. Mystique, who in her usual way disguises herself as Betsy to sleep with Phantom X in an attempt to kill him. There's also an unknown leader. Beyond that, the Omega Clan were programmed with false memories to hate X-Force with a virile, but thanks to Wolverine's ability to abuse himself and Deadpool using technology of the boutique, create a bad guy place they are in, they manage to escape. Sabretooth and AOA Blob kidnap Evan. We find out the big bad behind it all, Dakin, Wolverine's son. Mystique infected Phantom X with a toxin that shuts down his mutant abilities. He escapes Mystique, goes to find Betsy, finds the Shadow King has broken her mind and is attacked by the Skinless Man. He manages to send Betsy away with Eva, but Phantom X is killed by the villains. Eva turns into a person for unknown reasons, but then Ultimation, the world's protector, now free of Phantom X's control, blows himself and the X-Team's base up. He had been there in the background for some time, I really didn't mention him. Gateway, in his dying moments, sends the team away, but they end up 30 years in the future, at a time where they run things, along with people like Cable, Frank Castle, the Punisher, and Hope, very Blade Runner looking. Deathlock is there to intercept them. He explains that Evan went full apocalypse eventually, and they killed him. Then they kept killing bad guys, and never stopped. Deathlock wants to kill them to avoid the future, but is killed by the Punisher, while Betsy has run away to commit suicide. But she is saved by old Frank Castle and Cable and brought before her current self. They have a philosophical conversation where Betsy says she'll never be like her before the whole team is sent back to the past. Okay, what a useful detour. Evan is taken on a journey by Sabretooth. The Shadow King and Daken continually made to choose violence against them or they will kill innocent people along the way, including a gas station full of people and an elderly couple. He rages but hesitates each time, giving the bad guys better control over his mind. They tell him his family never existed and it was all a manipulation tactic by Phantom X, which is true. The rest of the bad guys hang out, and they have Phantom X's body is sort of just hanging out there too. I don't know why. Evan begins cracking. He has been lied to every day of his life. He's taunted endlessly by these monsters who use Phantom X's body to abuse him. They have an old celestial armor of Apocalypse in his room. He wonders if he could use it to hurt them. Sabretooth gives a post-coital pep talk to Mystique, then a regular pep talk to Daken. He's the MVP here, huh? The X-Team infiltrate and take out Mystique. They debate on killing Evan. Wolverine says they might have to. Betsy says no more. Wade has slipped away, though, and he points a gun at Evan. But he just wants to save the boy for their ambush. Deadpool does his best against the bad guys, but he's taken down and tortured in front of the boy. Daken prepares for the only way to kill his father, a special room to drown him. Kurt and Mystique talk. She's the dead Nightcrawler's mother. He says she is a black reflection of the woman he loved, but she convinces him Wolverine is the real bad guy here. Wolverine is also there, taking off the Skinless Man, some of the Omega Clan, and Sabretooth before Nightcrawler and Mystique take him down in a heel turn there as Betsy faces off with the Shadow King psychically. Nightcrawler gets his end of the deal with Mystique to kill the AOA Blob, who had killed his girlfriend or wife in his future. So he does so by teleporting a shark inside the guy. Really awesome moment. Daken and Wolverine share quite an emotional father-son moment before he leaves, floods the room, and beats Evan as he watches Wolverine drowning. This causes Evan to freak out and put on the Apocalypse armor, with Deadpool begging him to stop. Eva wounds Nightcrawler for his betrayal, but he flees with Mystique. Daken taunts his father. Deadpool kills the Skinless Man and rescues Wolverine. Evan is having a hard time understanding the level of violence that is happening around him. It comes down to father-son showdown, Wolverine versus Daken. The words Daken said to Logan echo in his head as he beats the boy, finally drowning him in a puddle. And what he had said to him is, "What if you had been there to raise me?" He thinks of camping trips, having a catch, loving his son. He holds his dead son as Evan tries to justify it to him. Sabretooth shows up to mock. Evan must kill Sabretooth, but Wolverine begs him to see the futility of it all, of vengeance. The team leaves with Logan thinking of all the lost memories with Daken. Wolverine brings his son home to Japan to bury him. Evan returns to the Jean Grey school where Deadpool visits him. They bond, with Wade saying he is proud of Evan and he will always be there for him, with Evan calling Wade his hero. Wolverine contacts Betsy about bringing Phantom X back, and they go to the White Hot Sky facility, which is the boutique bad guy facility we saw earlier. And then we get 3 Phantom X's since he had 3 brains, and the machine didn't understand that. Betsy and one of the Phantom X's kiss, and the end, I guess. Alright, so that was the entirety of Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force. Let's talk about it. First, I want to go over the 2 backup stories from issue 25. One about Wolverine, one about Deadpool, both by Rick and Jerome Opina. We get a classic Wolverine in Asia story, Thailand this time. He trains with some monks, meets a lady with a dove tattoo who demands his help dealing with an evil gang. When he returns to the monks, he finds them having been killed. So he goes Wolverine on them, of course, with the head monk begging him to stop, but he doesn't listen. He finds these bad guys have dove tattoos as well. So he returns to the nice lady, gang leader, as she is now revealed, and she tells him, "If you kill me, you have no honor." He says he ain't an honorable man. He's Wolverine. Otherwise, Deadpool is looking for a missing chunky boy and ends up kidnapped by Goss that looks suspiciously like Edward Scissorhands. He gets the Homer Simpson and Hell treatment where he is force-fed, but he uses his newly hefty farts to kill the bad guys and escape. Him and the kid get some McDonald's breakfast sandwiches. Let's move on to the writing. This arc in its totality showed the best and worst of Rick Remender's writing, so I'm going to go over the pros and the cons of his writing here. Pros, while he doesn't always get emotional relationships across, like Betsy and Angel, which was kind of a bust, when he does, they're surprisingly well done. Wolverine in general has a lot of weight here. Between the solo story in 25, where we see the duality of him, that the want to be at peace, but the lust to be Wolverine, to his vengeance with Sabretooth, citing Creed's good, but I'm the best, and the warring fatherly nature that he had with Daken, Speaking of Dakin, the absolute heart of the story, more so than Evan, who I will talking about in a moment, but the drinking scene all the way to Dakin's death are littered with just standout Wolverine moments when they drink together and Dakin knows his father can handle it, calling him Stumbly, the inebriated man. Slaughter, Clockhound, who better to run a school for confused kids? Talks about his childhood, beaten, abused, and they both wonder what life might have been like had his father been there for him. Wolverine says, "You can't blame me for things I didn't know or didn't do," essentially. He's right, but it doesn't stop him from wondering. Wishing he had been able to be there for the boy, watching him grow, not into this monster before him. And maybe Dakin wouldn't be a monster either. We even get future Wolverine telling Logan, "I couldn't kill the boy. I let Dakin live. He'll kill all the students if you let him live." Like he has no choice. And to drown his son with his own hands was very heavy. Nightcrawler, Blob, and Mystique, we don't get a ton of time with either of them, but hunting down Blob has been kind of AOA Nightcrawler's whole function this comic. He killed his girlfriend, he ate her, and he wants him dead. Mystique, who he sees as a dark reflection of the woman he loved in his world, a dead woman, and here in this reality, her son is dead. And they kind of bond, and she helps him fulfill his goals, and he kills Bob in such a fantastic way. Shark inside him. That was beautiful. It was well done, even for how brief it was. Wade and Evan. We are given a lot of build to Phantomax and Evan, but I think we also have the dispute between Phantomax and Wade, where they are diametrically opposed to each other just about every way, and it makes sense that Wade would be the guy that Evan looks up to, that Wade would be the guy that Evan sees as a hero, who would put himself on the line. Wade has lost his healing powers here. I didn't mention that because it really didn't come up. So he's totally susceptible to being killed, but he throws himself into it, alone into the fray to help keep Evan sane, and understands the nature of sacrifice and the nature of what it means to have people who care. Them bonding at the end is wonderful. He calls Wade a hero, and he says no one has ever called him that, and he then gives Evan some Playboys. Evan in general doesn't get a lot here, but I like him. He wants to be normal. He's been, I don't want to say manipulated by Phantomax, but led to believe he is a normal kid who can be a hero. And why shouldn't he think that? Why shouldn't he have a chance? So many differences between what Clan Aqaba did to the original boy and what Phantomax did. Yes, well, but they went about it in similar ways. That's true. So there's some moral issues there, but I like that he isn't doomed to his fate. And I like that he grew up on a farm. I mentioned this last week. Like Superman, we all struggle against causality, and we struggle with our parentage, and they did a decent job showing that here. Rick's comedy, I've said before, it's hard to do comedy in a comic, especially if it's not a comedy comic. Said comedy and comic too many times there in a row. You're not able to bang out jokes one after another. He blends them in really nicely, though, which is something I don't often see. It's hard to describe comedy, but I'll go over just a few things that made me chuckle. Nightcrawler asking if Deathlock left his cell phone number. Phantomax after he leaves the team. Man, he's living it up, throwing wild parties with clown girls, panda play, space foot fetish stuff, listening to the zombies, the trogs, the kinks. It's not funny, it's just cool. Deadpool gives us a Steve Holt joke. Phantomax and Mystique are talking. He says, "You make love nothing like Betsy." And Mystique goes, "Yet you continued." And he says, "I didn't say it was bad." Deadpool calling elderly Frank Castle a boring, two-dimensional, self-serious relic from the 70s was a bit on point. We get mention of a zombie Nixon thing, and Deadpool claims he will play an important part in the next Cola Wars, which I'm sure will be started by R.C. Cola, Roller Crown Cola. That's my prediction. I see Sabretooth and Mystique pulling a George Costanza, and that they use meat in their sexual liaisons, but instead of pastrami, as Mr. George did, they use bloody Wagyu, which is much more expensive, much less reasonable. And there's more, but I don't want to go over too much. Beyond that, Rick had good concepts. They get a little bit over his head sometimes, but his ideas are solid, if not high concept at time. His stories tend to be big and grandiose, which is both a positive and a negative. So honestly, I think he's a little bit of a stronger writer on a more personal front. But they're certainly very exciting to read about, and they don't always work in a way I think he would have intended. That leads to the cons. He does get in over his head. He does try to do too much. Too many characters. Too much background bullshit. Not enough space or time to tell a tighter story. It reflects in the wasted 2 issues we got. In the future, nothing happens there. Nothing is important. We get, Evan could turn evil, but we knew that was a threat. We knew that since we saw Phantomax growing a new fucking apocalypse that it could be a problem. We don't need 2 extra issues to tell us that. And we never see what happens to that future. It's gone, it's not. I'd have liked a mention of it, an acknowledgement, but no, it just kind of is nothing. It just feels like he got very excited about things, and his editors aren't good enough to rein him in. And that's kind of crap we got. Eva, the Omega Clan, most of the villains are really all sort of wasted. Why did Eva turn into a person? Phantom X died. How's come no one was surprised or mentions it? The Omega Clan got a bit of fanfare, then nothing. Same with the Skinless Man. He was presented as a big threat, then was dealt with essentially in 2 panels. And honestly, how did he get from Otherworld to here? Also, Dakin as a big bad was kind of strange, as it reduces it from this big, huge, world-breaking thing with Apocalypse to being mad at my dad. Why would he want Apocalypse to come back? That doesn't help Dakin, nor Sabretooth in any way. Why would they want an overlord? They want to roam free and do what they want, and Apocalypse certainly wouldn't let them. Sabretooth has dealt with Apocalypse before. He would know that. I just don't totally understand what the rest of the X-Team has to do with any of this planet. It seems like a very personal thing. Let's just kill Wolverine. That might have been more interesting for Wolverine solo than what we got with his extra people. Those are my big gripes, the writing. Let's go on to the art. Start off really strong. 25 is Mike McCone for his main, and Jerome Mapina for the backups. The best looking issue in the whole run from the week. Everyone is on model, looks good. Mike is a very 70s look to stuff, lots of cheesecake. His faces were the weakest part, but honestly, it was a minor gripe. Jerome is probably the best artist on the whole thing, from 1 to now, frankly. He's my MVP artist on this. I lumped Phil Nadeau and Julian here together. They had comparable art. Not that it looks the same, they both have distinct styles, but they are of similar quality, and that quality is distinctly fine. Wasn't in particularly thrilled with either of them. They are serviceable, better than we've gotten at many points in this book, but it's just kind of what we had to deal with at the end of this run. Hard to really get super excited about pretty generic art. David Williams, however, was bad. Everything looked really goofy, like X-Men the Animated Series from the 90s, goofy, off-color, off-panel. It was not good, man. Now, if I had to rank the sagas, and I don't, but I will, as I like lists. Let's go ahead and rank them. Number 5, Otherworld, bad art and a messy story. Number 4, Deathlock Nation, got lots of cool Deathlock people, I guess. Number 3, The Final Execution, a bit long in the tooth, but a solid if not muddied ending. Number 2, The Apocalypse Solution, good presentation of what the team is about, what we should expect out of this book, a great hook. And number 1, of course, The Dark Angel Saga. Really the peak in terms of story, style, team concept, yeah. Overall, what do I think of Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force? It's good. It's very good. It borders on excellent at times, though I don't quite think it hits that threshold. But in terms of X-books, it's one of the better ones in the past, 20 years. I don't know if that's really a compliment, though, but I would say if you are a fan of any of these characters, specifically Wolverine, Deadpool, or Phantom X, this book will have lots of mileage for you. Well, that was the long ending to Uncanny X-Force. What is your favorite Wolverine story, and would you like to hear me talk about it? Let me know down below. Of course, check out my new Patreon where you can support this channel for as little as $1 or $0 and just like this. But add me on Instagram under Demon Peaks for daily Twin Peaks memes. Don't forget my podcast, the Dark Peaks Podcast. And of course, subscribe and be here next week, as in September, we're going to be looking at the anti-hero Martial Law, starting with his first limited series. This has been Thitona Makaya, Master of Minds and of Men. Thank you very much, and goodbye.